All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a match that was supposed to be, well, just a routine win, but it instantly turned into an absolutely desperate fight for survival. We're breaking down that July 1, 2026 clash in Seattle. Now, on paper, it was Belgium against Senegal, but in reality, it was the dramatic story of the world's top-ranked golden generation stepping right up to the absolute edge of elimination.
85. I really want you to just let that number sink in for a second. Because in the context of a massive knockout tournament, 85 minutes is literally an eternity. And for exactly 85 minutes, this heavily favored Belgian squad was completely dead and buried on the pitch. I mean, they weren't just losing, they were being thoroughly outclassed by a team that showed up with a completely fearless game plan.
Okay, let's dive into this because the reality of the situation was just staggering. Senegal had built up this massive 2-0 lead, and they had brought the world #1 to the absolute brink. Imagine being a Belgian fan in those stands. You were basically watching the end of an era unfold in real time. Everything this golden generation had worked for over the last decade was just disintegrating right in front of our eyes.
Section 1. The Golden Generation Stumbles.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how we got there. You really have to look at the vast canyon between these two teams early on. On one side, you've got Belgium, right? They were toothless, passive, literally chasing shadows out there. They just looked heavy-legged. But on the other side, Senegal was a total revelation. They were energetic, they were executing the suffocating press that completely exposed an aging Belgian defense. The Belgians totally failed to react to the intensity of the moment.
And you know that intense pressure turned into concrete results super quickly. In the 25th minute, Habib Diallo pounces on a rebound, and by the way, making history as the youngest African scorer in a World Cup knockout match. Then, the pressure doesn't even ease up after halftime. In the 51st minute, Ismail Assar doubles the lead with his absolutely world-class chest and volley. It was the kind of strike that leaves a legendary keeper like Thibaut Courtois utterly helpless. Senegal had built a seemingly unassailable 2-0 lead, and the crazy part is they looked entirely comfortable doing it.
Section 2. The 86th minute awakening.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because the sequence of events from here is just pure rapid-fire chaos. Out of nowhere, the sleeping giant finally wakes up. In the 86th minute, Romelu Lukaku, who came off the bench to provide this massive physical focal point, scores a clinical finish. Suddenly it's 2-1. Just 3 minutes later, in the 89th minute, Youri Tielemans rises highest to head home a Leandro Trossard cross. Boom, 2-2. They forced extra time basically out of thin air. And then we hit the 117th minute. An unprecedented VAR intervention begins, which ultimately leads to the 125th minute where Tielemans steps up to score the penalty, game winner.
But hold on. Before we even get into that penalty, I want to emphasize the sheer historical rarity of what Belgium actually accomplished in regulation. This comeback marks only the second time in 11 World Cups that a team has rallied from a 2-goal deficit in a knockout match. And remarkably, you can't make this up, the only other time it happened, that was also Belgium, when they completed their famous escape against Japan back in 2018. It's like they have this haunting, almost supernatural history of survival.
Section 3. The VAR Controversy.
Now, let's look at the mechanics of that 117th minute, because it was incredibly complex. Belgian forward Dodi Lukebakio actually hits the crossbar with a shot, but out of nowhere, the play is pulled back by the system. VAR official Guillermo Pacheco Larios had flagged a challenge by Senegal's Lamine Camara on Youri Tielemans that happened seconds earlier in the build-up. The entire stadium just held its breath as the technology took over.
What followed was easily one of the most tense periods in tournament history. Referee Side Martinez spent 7 agonizing minutes at the pitch side monitor. Just imagine that. 7 minutes of a ticking clock with thousands of fans in the stadium and millions watching at home in total suspense. And this extended hesitation was heavily called out later by pundits who felt the referee really lacked conviction in what he was seeing on the screen. And, that lack of conviction sparked a massive debate. On one hand, you had stunned experts like Gary Neville and Roy Keane arguing that the call was really, really harsh, feeling it just didn't meet the high threshold standards set for this tournament. But on the other hand, you have the official ruling by the referee team on the pitch. They ultimately determined it was a foul and awarded the penalty to Belgium. It's one of those moments that is absolutely going to be dissected for years to come.
Section 4. Survival and Heartbreak.
And what's really interesting about this slide is the timing. 1:25. When Youri Tielemans stepped up and converted that penalty to seal the 3-2 win, he did so in the 125th minute of the match. That officially makes it the latest goal in the entire history of the tournament. A totally record-breaking moment born out of pure desperation.
But we have to talk about the other side of this historic whistle. It was just utter devastation for Senegal. The Lions of Teranga were objectively the better team for 85 minutes. They executed their plan perfectly, only to watch it agonizingly slip away. Coach Pape Thiaw called it a cruel loss. And honestly, you could see the profound heartbreak on the players' faces. Some were collapsing in tears. This controversial finish agonizingly revived the ghosts of a very similar penalty loss they suffered at the Africa Cup of Nations. They gave everything, but the ending was just tragic.
So the crucial point is that while Belgium survived, they didn't necessarily conquer. If we look at their round of 16 outlook, this historic survival is actually a massive red flag. They face the United States next, and the warning signs are blaring. Their defensive status? Highly vulnerable and totally exposed by an energetic opponent. Their playstyle flaw? Like we saw, they were completely toothless against high intensity for over an hour. The cracks in their foundation are highly visible.
Which leaves us with one ultimate question to ponder. Belgium was dead, and then they were reborn through controversy and sheer desperation. So, can this golden generation actually fix these glaring issues and win the World Cup? Or was this great escape just a delay of their inevitable collapse? It's going to be fascinating to watch. Thanks for joining me for this explainer today, and make sure to stick around for more deep dives.